Welcome to a grey day at the Nürburgring. Little spatters of rain on some of the cameras around the circuit. You don't know what the track conditions are going to be. They're dry for now for the start of the second race of the McLaren Trophy Europe. Had a great race yesterday, and my name is Bruce Jones, joined in the commentary box by a man who watches it all, a man who's done it all, Tommy Erdos. What are we expecting today? The track's dry. What do the weather gods tell you?
Well, it's an impossible thing to predict weather at the Nürburgring, and yesterday we were talking about it and we thought it's going to be a wet one potentially tomorrow. Here we are today. It is a bit grey, a few little spots on the camera there, but the track looks pretty dry to me at the moment. Yeah,
when the cars went out this morning, they went out for a qualifying session. It had a little flurry of rain, but I tell you what, let's find out the news from number 69 car, Brad Ellis and Klaus Halsig. Share that.
Klaus, you are leading the Papaya Cup, but this is not the easiest of places to start at the Nürburgring.
That's correct. Unfortunately, we are a little bit behind today. It has to do with the fact that we unfortunately got a 3 places grid penalty from the last race at Spa-Francorchamps. But my pro driver Bradley is starting, and he's pretty good at catching up.
Right, Tom, Klaus. Oh, try not to fall over. I like this. Talk to me about your livery.
Yeah, well, first of all, the livery has to be McLaren orange. That's very important, as my blood is even orange.
Of course.
Number two, the racing team's name is TWSS Racing.
Okay.
The full meaning is That's What She Said Racing. But it would take pretty long to explain why that is. I don't know if we have the time, but I will catch up with you afterwards.
Anything to do with the American office?
Not at all. It has to do with the fun of racing, with the fun of being coached, and always not taking everything too seriously, but also having fun whilst we are competing here.
I love that, and that feels like the spirit of McLaren as well, right?
That's it, at least in the ProAm category that we are in, yes.
Good. Well, enjoy it back here. That's what you're going to have to do around the ring, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Have a great race, Klaus.
Tommy, whenever we see Klaus, and we saw him on the podium yesterday, the biggest smile up there. He truly is doing what he loves, isn't he?
He's a great competitor, and there you go. You know, that's what she said, whatever that means. Yeah, a great competitor as always with a smile on his face. And his co-driver, Brad Ellis, what else can we say about him? I mean, hugely experienced. And yesterday, got the fastest lap of the race by a good margin as well. He was the only guy getting into the 58. So even though he's got a little penalty to start the race here, watch out for Brad Ellis. He'll be absolutely like a rocket off that grid.
Yeah, looking at the race yesterday, he was coming on strong, but just ran out of laps at the end of the race. But but what I noticed today's qualifying, the order is entirely different from yesterday's. It really is like someone had a pack of cards and shuffled them before playing the next hand. And that's good news, keeps it interesting. But let's go back down to the grid, because Alex is down on the grid, and she's with Ron Trenker, who's sharing. But this time, John Lancaster will go first. But let's hear from Ron.
Oh, Ron, here we are at the back of the grid. This is not where we want to start at the Nürburgring. However, you look happy, and you're fighting in the Papaya Cup.
Yep, we are currently second place in the Papaya Cup. We've been consistently on the podium for the past 3 races, so we hope to keep that streak going.
Good. Yeah. What's your experience around the ring?
We were here last year, but the weather was very different. It was a bit damp.
It's a little changeable, but it does look like, I'm guessing you're not doing the rain dance then. You'd rather it to stay dry?
No, I'm hoping it stays like this, because we can get a good run in if it stays like this.
Good. All right, have a great race.
All right, thank you.
Tommy, explain to people who are looking at the trophy race for McLaren for the first time in the series, what is the Papaya Cup?
So the Papaya Cup was obviously a class really aimed for what we, very often sort of call it the gentleman's cup, but I prefer to call it the sportsman cup. It's really for people like Ron Trenker, like Klaus Halsig, who have not quite enough time to really dedicate to their driving careers. They come at the weekend, they enjoy as best as they can, but they have a category where they can actually compete against each other, on a level playing field, if you will. So that's the Papaya Cup, which I think is really good.
Okay, and just to let you know who's in the Papaya Cup, Fiona James, who's running in the ProAm class, Klaus Halsig in the Papaya Cup, Ron Trenker. Then you go down to the AM class, we've got Danny Henry and Tim Docker. So 5 drivers. And up top at the moment, it's Klaus Halsig. No wonder he was smiling so much.
Yes, so Klaus Halsig really, it goes to show that the consistency really pays off, and that's why he's leading the class. And but Tim Docker there in second place is actually Ron Trenker. Klaus Halsig obviously with a good sort of 12-point advantage at the moment, but it's all to play for.
all to play for. And also, this is the third season of McLaren Trophy Racing, and also this season there's a new championship for the trophy in North America as well. So it's spreading its wings, and certainly we hear quite a lot of American voices down on this grid as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a real success. First year of the Trophy America, and we have actually Tommy Pintos Jr. here with us this weekend, who is also racing Trophy America, our first McLaren Trophy Europe champion, and doing very well. I think he won the last race, so great to see Tommy back and representing Europe, I guess, in the American series.
Well, I tell you what, let's go down and join the pole sitter, because Zach Meakin is standing at the sharp end with Alex.
I'm now at the other end of the grid, in the sharp end, and here you are, Harry, for the first time, your first pole, and what a place to take it at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really nice feeling after the start of the weekend that we had with an engine failure, so to put it on P1 today, it means a lot to us, and hopefully we can get the foot down and see what we can do.
Yeah, do we think that we can convert it to our first win, boys?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah, probably. Oh, easy, that's confident.
Yeah, with the pace that Zach's been showing in the practice this morning and qualifying, it's looking good for the rest of the day. Just hope this rain doesn't stay off. It is a bit cloudy now, so we just need to wait and see.
Well, I look forward to interviewing at the end then. Good luck.
Right, just to alert you, of course, Zach Meakin is strapped into the car in pole position. That's his teammate Harry Burgoyne. And if it rains, as you could tell from not just the saltire on the roof of the car, but the Scottish Burr, a driver from Scotland should be pretty good in the wet. You think back to Jackie Stewart, Jim Clark, they didn't do badly at all when it rained. It's like looking at a Scandinavian, expecting them to be able to flick a car left and right, rally style.
Yes, plenty of practice on that kind of weather, absolutely. So a good mention there for Zach Meakin, who's put it on pole convincingly, a good couple of tenths ahead of the opposition there. So, and you know, Zach's had a bit of a tough season for whatever reason, but he's really was able to show his pace in Q2. So really happy for Zach Meakin there, putting that car on pole position, well deserved.
Yeah, and let's move across to second on the grid, and Leo Caravasili is there, and he's about to be spoken to, interviewed by Alex, and second on the grid is a good place to start.
We saw some rather feisty racing from you yesterday. Can you do it again?
Hopefully. Again, we're on the inside. I didn't have a best of starts, but managed to sling around the outside of Josh to keep it back in P2. Hopefully today, it's looking like Eifel region is providing some mixed weather again. It's a bit damp in the air. Hopefully we can have a dry race, but super looking forward to it. It's time to get our elbows out. We haven't got too much of a pit stop penalty, so super looking forward to some hard racing.
All right. Good luck.
Okay, Leo Caravasili there pointing out pit stop penalties. Just explain how these work. I know what happens if you finish in the top 3 in your class, you get a time penalty or pit stop. So if you do well in race 1, you know your second race is going to be a little bit compromised. But Tommy, just talk me through the penalties. They differ from class to class.
Correct, they do. So generally speaking, just to keep sort of it's simple, if you win the race, you get 7 seconds added to your pit stop. If you finish second, you get 5 seconds. For third position, it's 3 seconds. But it's not quite that simple, because if you end up winning too many times, there's an extra added few seconds that goes on to. So for example, car 88, which is a ProAm entry of Eric Behrens and Lucas Sundell, instead of having 5 seconds, they have 7 seconds added. So there's an extra 2 seconds there because they won the last 2 races in a row. So it gets a little complicated with the maths, but don't worry, stick with us. We'll explain to you as the pit stop window comes up.
As it goes on, I remember many moons ago talking to someone who ran teams very successfully, and he said, if it's too complicated for your grandmother to understand, it's too complicated. That was Alan Docking, just for your reference. And there is an element within that, but we can sit on top of this one because when you get in the AM class, it's a much bigger penalty. It's 15 seconds if you won the previous race and 10 seconds in the Pro-Am class. But just referring to the top class, the Pro class, it's 7 seconds, and that is being added to Jaden Kelly and Michael O'Brien, who looked really strong yesterday. But in fact, in qualifying today, the order was rather sort of put on its head because Jaden Kelly qualified only 6th in the number 17. So we could have real sort out in this race. But what we can tell you, front row of the grid is Zach Meakin sitting there, and Sam Harrison on the left-hand side, the side close to the pit wall, car number 90. He will be starting second in the race today.
Yeah, don't discount Alex Gephardt in third position there. Almost equal time to Sam in second position. So they both did a 56.9 in qualifying. So those 3 cars especially will be very, very keen off the line. And Leonidas Caravasali there saying that I'm on the inside, so it should be okay. Well, these cars have a standing start, and he being on the inside isn't such a good thing because it's off the race line. So he really needs to match his revs well to get a good start.
Okay, just to explain that for people who are new to motor racing, if you're off the racing line, there isn't as much rubber on the track, which doesn't help you get the traction to get the start. So Zach Meakin on pole, that's on the grandstand side, Sam Harrison, then Alejandro Sepp at third. The team owner of Paddock Motorsport, Martin Plowman, has jumped on board this weekend to start fourth. Sam Neeser will be fifth, and Jaden Kelly, who took victory yesterday with Michael O'Brien, will start from sixth. Then we come to the ProAm class, and it's Lucas Sundal on class pole, Ollie Webb alongside, seventh and eighth on this grid. Danny Henry going very nicely indeed to start in ninth, and Rafael Muncharas, who had a little bit of a difficult race with mechanical problems, I think, yesterday. Then Tim Docker and Kevin Rawshite form row number 6. We're 8 rows in all. John Lancaster, look for great progress from him, and Bradley Ellis, who you pointed out was by far the quickest driver at the end of yesterday's race. So look for those drivers to come forward. And then Morris Henry in the Race Lab car will start 15th and last, but really it's going to be all eyes on a dry track who can get into, and more importantly, out of turn 1 in the lead of this race. But plenty to look forward to. 50-minute race, pit stop somewhere around middle distance. We'll wait and see who dives in first. Weather for now, the good news, if you're at the Nürburgring and you can see 1, 2, 3 hills worth of trees, then it's probably fair weather.
Well, that's
Can't guarantee it.
That's a trick I didn't know. Thanks for that, Bruce.
No, I do a lot of races here. And if you can't see the tower over Nürburg village, it's sort of fairly foggy. And last year in the Nürburgring 24 hours, sitting in the same commentary box, I couldn't even see the tower at the entrance to the pit lane across the track because it was so foggy. Racing was abated. But today, we had lovely weather yesterday. A sort of coolish end of summer day, early autumn day. But certainly racing will go on here for another couple of months. And you see the trees going through their colour, all the leaves going away. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to be. But right now, it's a fantastic Grand Prix circuit, 15 cars, a lot of people with just absolute love for McLaren competing in this. We've got the 3 classes, the Pro, the ProAm and the Am. And within that, we've also got the Papaya Cup, as you've explained, for drivers who they've got day jobs. Imagine that. They come and they want to do their racing. McLaren guide them through, and a lot of them in the ProAm class, they learn from their pro driver alongside them, and it's a beneficial relationship for both. But you have to consider not everybody on this circuit is a pro driver who can dedicate 365 days a year to their racing. Other people have their things called businesses that help pay the bills.
100%, and it's great to have those classes so that everybody can come and have a play. Drivers will be very happy actually with this weather right now, Bruce, because it's a lot cooler than yesterday, and there's also an issue with tire degradation here, particularly this circuit, just due to the nature of the corners. And it's like one after the other, so the corners are linked, and the car never really rests enough to cool the tires down. So they really need to watch their tire pressures.
Yeah, I mean, every time you're on a track, particularly one like the Nürburgring that has this movement of temperature, it's like a different circuit. So experience is something you can just absolutely build on. But right, let's focus on what lies ahead. Zach Meakin starting on pole. The number 68 SMC Motorsport entry as teammate Alejandro Heppert behind him. But the number 90, Sam Harrison, for this standing start, will be starting from second place. 5-second board being shown to the drivers. They'll be looking, green flag waved at the back of the grid, all clear. Lights go from red to green from the driver's side, and it looks like a very equal start at the front of the grid. And I think you can sense John Lancaster and Bradley Ellis possibly starting to make moves. But into the lead of the race goes Sam Harrison. Can he get the braking done? He's gone past Zach Meakin, the pole sitter, and another one of the white cars trying to make a move into third place, but surely being on the outside line at turn 2 will funnel number 9 backwards. That's Martin Plowman. Can't damage the car because the team boss will be very cross. Oh, hold on a second, he is the team boss, so he's taking a risk going around the outside into turn 3. Gets up to third place, so that's 4th to 3rd for Martin Plowman, showing he's lost none of the ability he had back in his regular racing days.
Yes, lost his position there just outside of turn 4, but that was certainly off on track limit. So whether that's going to be looked upon as not exactly a fair overtake, we'll see. We'll wait and see.
Job very nicely done by Sam Harrison. We sensed that he wouldn't have the better start because he was on the pit wall side that doesn't have as much rubber down, doesn't offer you as much traction at the start, but he was got a good getaway and then was brave enough to brake as late as he did without compromising his line down into the first corner. And you have to say that Zach Meakin was nice and polite and decided not to try and be robust. In fact, we heard from Sam Harrison's teammate pointing out it was going to be elbows out. That's Leo Caravasili, but didn't need them. Good enough start.
No, perfectly executed that.
Oh dear, Martin Plowman has a problem. He got up into third place, fourth, and he was keeping out of trouble in turn 4. That's why he ceded the position, but something has been awry, and he's been wise enough to recognise that and pulled it off. I didn't see any further contact. It might have been away from camera. So that's very unfortunate. Now, if you see a car with the white lights flashing on the front, that is signifying something. What's that?
That's right, Bruce. So that's the push to pass button. So whenever you see the sort of daylight running lights flashing, that means that the driver has pushed the push to pass button or activated it, and that gives them extra horsepower. The cars go from 580 horsepower up to over 600, well over 600. So it's, but they only have a certain amount of that to use during the race.
Okay, well, that's notable. We'll talk about that a little later. All the drivers, well, the race leader, Sam Harrison, is not using it to pass. He's using it trying to build a little bit more of a gap coming down in the first turn. Doesn't want to come under attack from Alejandro Heppert, who's got ahead of his teammate, Zach Meekin. And just as long as you can have 0.6 of a second, you might be far enough clear. But in this early stage in the race, it's about keeping it neat and tidy. Leading runner in Pro-Am is up to 4th place overall. Ollie Webb has been making the moves early on, and John Lancaster has come from, where was he? He was right down towards the tail of the field, sharing with Ron Trenker, isn't he? And he has got himself up to 6th. So these are the pros showing their merit. But again, it's not really about their pace. It's about the combined pace, and in Pro-Am pairing, it's about bringing on the Am driver. But the driver doing the best job at the moment is Sam Harrison, the lead of the race. Alejandro Heppert, 0.5 tenths behind. Now, one car that went so well was Martin Plowman, and we're just going to have a look at the replay to find out if we can work out why he suddenly pulled off. He was in 4th place. This is coming up the Schumacher S up the hill. He ceded position to the car just in front of him, but that looks a little bit loose going in there. Tommy, what are you seeing?
Yeah, but nothing at this stage, nothing that would signify a reason for him to stop. So, yeah, he went over the curb a little bit there. The car is loaded off the curb, but I still don't understand why he had to stop.
No, quite weird. Actually, it's very useful seeing that super slow-mo, just seeing the movement of the cars, the working of the damping of their suspension, making it a nice, comfortable ride for most of those drivers. If you clonked a curb in your road car like that, you'd certainly get to know about it. But our first 3 really pulling clear. Sam Harrison, Alejandro Heppert, Zach Meekin, then Ollie Webb, best of the rest, leading the Pro-Am class. He's about 2.5 seconds behind them. Now, the big story is how much love is there in the SMC Motorsport camp, because here we have fighting over second place, Geppert and Meekin. Meekin will be a little bit miffed because he started on pole position, but he's lost 2 positions so far. All 3 of the front running cars, no, the ones in 2nd and 3rd, using their push to pass. This is sort of quite good news for our race leader Sam Harrison. He wants them to use theirs up, so they can't use it to sack him. Zach Meekin is on the outside, Geppert's on the inside. Geppert is nobody's fool, he's not going to leave the door open, so he holds on to 2nd place, but while they fight, that's just getting a little bit of breathing space for our race leader Sam Harrison. Then you go back a bit to Ollie Webb leading the Pro-Am class. We'll keep looking at the SMC crew because they are having a bit of fun. Zach Meekin gets the move done eventually coming out of turn 4.
Great move there by Zach Meekin, and well timed as well. He really does need to try and pull away from Geppert now, but those guys are very evenly matched, and you're asking about how they get on. These guys are fiercely competitive, and of course there'll be a sort of professional courtesy, I guess, but only to a point. They are there racing, and they're both racing for the championship.
Yeah, well, that's exactly how we like it. Now, leading the way in then we're looking at the Am leader there. That's Kevin Rawshite. Now, we had some great battling in class yesterday, and looking at Lucas Sundal, who's all over the tail of Sam Nisa there. Back of that pack, orange car just up in front of them. That's Bradley Ellis.
Yeah, Sam Nisa that qualified a little bit further back than we expected in this morning's qualifying, and we were talking to him earlier, or to his father actually. They said there was nothing wrong, car felt good, he just couldn't quite put a lap together, so he should be making his way through the field, but he's got very, very experienced drivers ahead of him as well.
Certainly have. That's the grouping of cars from Ollie Webb leading the Pro-Am class. Jaden Kelly, yesterday's race winner, that's the one with the Hilton livery on the nose, and then tucked in behind him is John Lancaster, tip-top single-seater racer, very impressive in sports cars, and he's pressing on. Bradley Ellis right on his tail as well, and then Sam Nisa, and then Lucas Sundal, then finally a gap before you get back to the number 49 entry with Maurice Henry on board. He's come up from the tail end of the grid. He started 15th and last, so he's made good progress.
Yes, Maurice Henry showed really well yesterday. Very good pace in his stint, so yeah, hopefully he'll get a little bit more seat time there to find his way back up the grid. But yeah, showing good pace, Maurice Henry, once again.
Yep, you just got to do what you got to do. Just looking at the gap comfortable for Sam Harrison, but maybe it's a different equation now. We got Zach Meakin up into second place. He was quickest enough to take pole position. Mind you, that's a different game. That's just going to get one lap and knitting it all together. But he's starting to drop Geppert. You can see a gap opening up between. Then out of the bottom of the picture goes Ollie Webb leading the ProAm class, and then there's this run from Jayden Kelly, John Lancaster, Bradley Ellis, Sam Neeser, Lucas Sundahl. One slip up from any of these and that order could change very quickly indeed. But you know, some of the pros really trying to propel their ProAm car up the order to give it to their teammate who's the AM element, and then see what they can do. But they want to give him in the best place possible. So Ollie Webb winning that battle at the moment by being in 4th place. Yeah,
Ollie did a fantastic job there, especially as he has quite a few cars between himself and Lucas Sundahl, who is obviously his championship rival there in the Pro-Am class. So great job by Ollie Webb. And yeah, he's definitely leading that battle for sure. We mentioned very briefly about the push to pass button, and we can see some differences in lap times now between the first 3 or 4 or 5 people, but it depends who is using the push to pass button, and they cannot do that throughout the entire race. So what these guys have is 300 seconds of push to pass button. They have a digital readout that tells them how much is left, and so if they use too much now at the first stint, they'll have nothing left at the end.
Depends how well they like their co-driver, doesn't it, really?
That's right.
Right, Zach Meakin, well, he's been using a fair bit of his, so maybe Harry Burgoyne will have none when he takes it over, but he's doing his best to close in on Sam Harrison. He's got it under a second, he's got it down to 0.78 of a second, so it's working. But I notice he's using his push to pass much more than Sam Harrison has been. He had to use it to make sure he got past Alejandro Geppert, his teammate, to move into second place, and he's using it now, but I can't see his readout. He can see his readout. He will have his conscience saying, shall I leave any of that for my teammate, or shall I use it now and give him the car in the lead of the race?
I think it was right for him to use it, certainly to get through to second place. So that was a good call there. But now he really needs to kind of try and rein that in, save some for the end. I think on that last lap that we saw on the pit straight, he was using his high beam, flashing the high beam rather than the push to pass. I'm not sure why he did that. Yeah.
A bit of bodywork. I thought there was a little bit of a shove there with car 69, which is Bradley Ellis against the tail of Jayden Kelly, but that isn't the front of his car. That is what part is that?
Well, that's the air scoop. Yeah, the cooling scoop that goes into the rear brakes, I believe.
Well, okay, we'll have to look.
That may have just come loose. I mean, I don't think there was any contact there, not that we saw anyway.
Well, if there was any contact, it was nose to tail, so that wouldn't have affected it, but it might have been rattling it over the curves. But certainly black and orange flag may be shown to them, so that could be very frustrating for the crew and for Ron Trenker there. Sorry, not Ron Trenker, Bradley Ellis with Klaus Halsig, of course, isn't it? We heard about that fantastic livery on his car. That's what she said. Got to get to the foot of that one. It's quite good in motor racing, have a little bit of a mystery. We have to go and do some footwork. You probably know what it means, Tommy, just not telling me. But
well, I think English is my second language. I'll reserve that for you to figure out.
So, Sam Harrison leading the race, 0.9 of a second. Zach Meakin starting to close in. How much has he used that push bar screen? Again, great little battle between Sam Neeser and Lucas Sundahl. Sundahl, as you said, very well placed in the Pro-Am Championship, so he's got a points consideration as well.
Yes, and Alice, sorry, just to interrupt you, Bruce, Alice is the part that was missing, or sort of dislodged, I think it's gone now, so that's a bit of luck there, so that will stop the officials throwing him with a black and orange flag.
You can imagine that Sam Neeser in the car that's following was taking a quite close look at that and thinking, if it's going to come off, don't do it in front of me. Now, he haven't had too much sight of car 49 of Maurice Henry. He started stone last, but he's gone from 15th up to 10th. Martin Plowman did continue in the race. He pulled off, we saw it, but he's got it going. So that's why it didn't lead to any flags being shown to the field when they came around next time around. So we don't know what it was. Let's take a look at his pace. Looking at his pace, actually, yeah, he's lapping about 1.5 seconds off the ultimate pace, but he's finding more pace than he had earlier in the race. So he's building up. Of course, Martin doesn't spend much time in the car anymore. 20 years ago, he was in cars every weekend, but he's running Paddock Motorsport with great style and rare opportunity for him to have a race. So he's probably assessing it not just from his own point of view, but from the point of view of running the car for other people.
I think from that point of view, it was actually very impressive, where he just jumped in and he was in the free practices leading up to the event. He was looking pretty on it. So yeah, whatever that was, it was very mysterious, really, because he came to a stop quite quickly as well. Like he felt the need to really stop the car.
It was just at this point of the circuit. It was coming up the rise from turn 8, from the hairpin, and he parked it off on the other side of the circuit. But the battling's still going on. This is Ollie Webb, 4th overall, leading the ProAm class. But will it be for much longer? Because John Lancaster right on his tail, the black and orange car in the background.
Yeah, Ollie Webb there with a lot of experience there. He will, if Lancaster is showing a little bit too much pace to him, he doesn't want to jeopardize his battle against Sundal really for the championship, but he will do his best to obviously stay in front.
Yeah, show us what you got, he's saying, but don't show too much. If you make a big challenge, I will let you through. But right now, doesn't need to do anything of the sort. Kevin Rorschach continues to lead the AM class, and here he is, as if on cue, car number 28. Very much sort of on his own in this race. He's nearly 6 seconds down on Maurice Henry. Henry's 10th, he's 11th, but he's 8 and a bit seconds clear of the recovering Martin Plowman. So a lonely race for Kevin Rorschach, but he's probably relatively happy with that. He's leading his class, and Andreas Grayling will be waiting to take over in the second part of the race. Right, the lead battle, it is gradually closing. It's under 0.8 of a second. Looks so as another 1/10 or so is being gained in the first part of the lap by the chasing Zach Meakin, but Sam Harrison hanging on. Alejandro Geppert is not out of it at all. Geppert coming out of turn 6 down the hill towards the lowest point at turn 8. He's 2 seconds down on Meakin. Actually, looks so Meakin might have not only just closed on the race leader a tiny little bit, but maybe this lap just slightly dropping Geppert. But he's there or thereabouts, which is sort of really where you need to be. And in teammate Will Aspin, Geppert's got a good one there. So it's a very strong combination. Could yet be good for victory in this one. Victory is what they seek. Victory is what they have not had. So many top results, and oh, did they have one win? They had one win early in the season, didn't they?
Yes, but they I think this certainly for this race in qualifying, Meakin finally showed his pace, which we knew it was in him. So it's really good for that to show. But also right now in the race, he is the fastest car, certainly on the last lap of the top 3, and he's got by a good couple of tenths, 2 or 3 tenths on the leader. And Geppert not quite, about another 2 or 3 tenths behind Meakin in terms of pace. So Meakin is looking strong.
Pit window open, and guest driver this weekend, Rafael Muncherath, in the pits, so he's perfectly entitled to do that. He might be looking for a teammate, but he doesn't have one. He's one of the drivers who's driving solo, so he just stops for the requisite amount of time. And of course, again, we have those elements of extra time added according to results if you finish in the top 3 of the previous race. But all under control, cool, calm and collected. He's being run this weekend by SMC Motorsport, one of the leading crews. This is one of their other cars, car number 68. That's in second place. Zach Meakin just under a second down. Now finally Lucas Sundal starting to attack Sam Nieser. He's been there right on his tail for lap after lap. That was the closest we've seen him get so far, but the Swede couldn't get the move done.
Yeah, so I was a bit surprised to see Muncherath in the pits, because the pit window, although the pit window is open, the way I understand it is that the pit window is open for the Pro-Am class, which is between 10 and 20 minutes. But and the Muncherath is on the M-only class, so which should be between 20 and 30. So to me, that looked a little early on the pit stop for Muncherath.
Okay, it could have been a simple misunderstanding, or it could be the fact he's got some engine problem for him, and he's new to the championship. He did appear at the end of last year, but not in one of these. Was it not in a GT4 version?
Correct. So he was driving his own 570 GT4 in Barcelona last year. Yeah.
Mind you, when you're doing that, you know you're not going to be anywhere near the cars. You're just doing it for some form of experience. Now he's in an equivalent car. It's slightly different, but it might have been a mistake. It could be a mechanical problem, because otherwise you wouldn't choose to come in outside your pit window, would you?
No, of course not. That's right. So that would incur a penalty. But Muncherath did very well yesterday. Considering it's his first really go at the Trophy Evo car, which is a lot faster than his previous car. He qualified in front of a couple of people that have been running all season. So very respectable showing that from Muncherath, and unfortunately he had a little bit of a whoopsie daisy there, and yesterday I think it wasn't anything wrong with the car. He had a little bit of a shall we say, a little spin.
Yeah, but
damage.
what he's learning is not just how to drive the car as fast as he can, it's how to run it through the course of a race, how to experience the tyre degradation and manage it and so on and so forth. So he's learning a lot as he goes, and I noticed his gap to the fastest drivers has come down since yesterday, so that's all you can ask for him. Other cars deciding it is time to make a pit visit. Bradley Ellis, the first of the sort of top 10 to do so. Pro-Am window has just opened and he's timed that very nicely.
That's it. So the Alice and Klaus Hausig car, of course, a Pro-Am combination, so they are within their pit window stop.
And the pros can go in after 20 minutes this race. We're not at that point yet. Another 3.5 minutes until 30 minutes into this 50-minute race. So, yeah, those split pit stops certainly have an element to play. Up front, though, Sam Harrison, 1.6 seconds clear in that number 90 of Zach Meakin. Here is the 69 car running in without all of its bodywork. Is that Brad Ellis's car? Yeah, you can see where something isn't anymore. You understand? If you look at the far side of the car, you have an scoop. Maybe Brad will tell us why he decided to lose it, but we don't know why it happened. But he's out of the car.
As you can see on the right side of the car, you can clearly see the scoop still there, and the other one on the left is missing. We only hope that whatever is left in that hole is not blocking the actual airflow coming into the rear brakes. That could be an issue towards the end of the race.
No, absolutely so, Tommy. It's, again, whenever you see a car that's damaged, you try and look at as many points on it when the camera sits on it for a few seconds, and well picked up. But yeah, the air scoop correct on the right-hand side of the car, left side not so good. In fact, we might even be able to see it somewhere around the circuit because it came off. This battle for Pro-Am honours, John Webb, Ollie Lancaster, continues to rage on. Klaus Hausig now being put into the car that Bradley Ellis has got out of it, hoping there is no performance deficit for them. But 4th and 5th, great little Pro-Am battle. They'll stay out sort of as long as they can, but they have to remember that they are in the first batch of pit stoppers. They have remembered, thank goodness for that. Ollie Webb coming in from 4th and John Lancaster from 5th, both doing the pro job in a Pro-Am driver lineup.
Super job by both these guys. Ollie Webb in the pits now to give the car to Ryan James, who did a great job yesterday. Ryan kept up with Eric Barons throughout the first stint yesterday and gave the car to Ollie, and they won obviously yesterday. So great job again by the number 22 crew. So incidentally, they're in the pits now, and the stationary time for these cars is 60 seconds. So there's mandatory. You have to stay in the pits for 60 seconds. That's for the Pro and the Pro-Am class. Now the Am only class will be in the pits for 46 seconds. So they get a bit of a break there. But of course, it takes them time to come in and out of the pits, and that is 27 seconds at 50 kilometers per hour, which is the speed limit in pit lane.
See, no team can come here and not immediately measure all these elements that are so required, because with minimum pit stop time, you make a mistake by a fraction of a second and it comes back and you get that time added plus the time through the pits. It's huge. It doesn't matter how many sports car GT races I watch, always at least one car gets it wrong, and it's so frustrating. It could be someone where they've worked for 20, 30 laps to gain the time and they've just tossed it out of the window and a whole lot more. But anyhow, a rule is a rule. It's there for a reason. It's also for safety for the pit crews, and there's no point a driver getting in the car and going out without their belts done up properly and all the other things. Safety is paramount, but it's not just for the driver, it's for the people working in the pit lane, and it's a good rule. But when people muck up, they haven't done their homework, it's very frustrating for all concerned.
Yes, and in fact, yesterday we had one contravening one of the rules in terms of slackening their belts before they came to a stop, and there was a penalty applied to that. So yeah, absolutely, very, very important. And also, it brings the element of the teamwork, coming into play for the car. So it's not just a driver on track; the team also has a responsibility and a part to play in the result.
Now we're starting to see the difference in what happens during a pit stop with the Pro-Am drivers coming in. John Lancaster came in behind Ollie Webb and has gone out way in front, but that's because Ollie Webb had a better result yesterday, so he had to have longer at a standstill. And so here we go, Ollie Webb out of the car with the white race suit. Oh, he looks, oh, there goes our rival, but we can't leave, and his car just sitting there waiting until Ryan James is given the go-ahead to get away. But if you take victory in class, it's 10 seconds longer in the Pro-Am class at your pit stop than a rival, or 5 seconds if you were a second in class. So it really has a huge difference, and it was victory in class, 7th place overall for Ollie Webb and Ryan James yesterday. So he's done what he can, but Ryan James knew with John Lancaster so close behind that he would be going out behind the car that Lancaster got out of. But let's see what they can do. Time of plenty, still just under half an hour to go in this 50-minute race for Ryan James to try and claw that back and go back into the lead in Pro-Am.
Yeah, so we'll take a few laps for us to sort of understand the real placings now. Since the pit stop, things get a little bit confusing, but crucially for the Ryan James and Ollie Webb car, we're looking for the number 88 of Eric Behrens and Lucas Sundal. Obviously, Sundal did the first stint, is now giving the car to Eric Behrens, and then we'll see whether those pit stop success penalties had any effect on that order.
Now, the number 90 entry there has led since the charge down on the opening lap, so that Sam Harrison. Zach Meakin, who started in pole, is just in the background of the shot. It was 2.3 seconds down. In a bit of traffic between the pair of them. It's the Maurice Henry car there that's lights are flashing. Or has Fiona James just got on board? No, Fiona James just got on board that one. And dives. Sam Harrison goes up the inside of another, going through the final corner. It's not too much of a lead over Zach Meakin, but Leo Caravasili, who's going second, and his teammate Sam Harrison were third yesterday, so that means they're, what, 3 seconds longer at the pit stop.
That's right, and Meakin doesn't have any success penalty, and he's actually closed the gap to now to under 1.5 seconds. So you've got to say the crew of the Zach Meakin there, number 68 car, is looking very strong for a win.
Yeah, and he'll be very, very pleased that they hunted down and passed teammate Alejandro Geppert. So that's why it was so urgent in the first part of the race. Zach Meakin looking for a gap that just wasn't there. Eric Behrens was where he wanted to be and suddenly had to back out. So this will, what he just gained in chasing after racing to Sam Harrison he'd lost. You just never know how you're going to get past 2 or 3 cars. And it looked as though it was going very well for Zach Meakin, and then he got a little bit compromised there and had to back out of it.
Yes, Eric is a fierce racer, and he wasn't going to let that go easily. But Zach did a very decisive move there into turn 5, and he needed to do that to keep his charge going. So great by Zach Meakin there. Still performing really well there from qualifying now into the race, doing the job.
So Sam Neeser out of the number 43 entry from Greystone GT, and Josh Mason on board waiting to be given the signal to get away. Now, with the extra time at a standstill in his pit stop, Sam Harrison needs, probably needs to be more than 3 seconds clear of Zach Meakin when they come in to make their pit stops. They've still got another 6 and a bit minutes remaining in which to do so. No cars between them. You can see the blue and orange car in second place giving chase. Actually looks like he's a bit more than 1.5 seconds down now, but really the leading number 90 wants it to be more than 3 seconds, and it certainly isn't more than 3 seconds at the moment. Waiting for the next timing interval coming up very soon to see how that gap has gone out or not. The first 4 cars on the track have not made a pit stop as yet. That's Harrison, Meakin, Geppert, and Kevin Rawshite from the AM class. He has yet to come in. 17, yesterday's winning car, now back into the hands of Michael O'Brien, who did the first pass of yesterday's race before handing over to Jaden Kelly, and today he's doing the second part, and let's see what he can do, because he was absolutely rock solid when he led the race yesterday.
Yes, perfect job there by Michael O'Brien once again. Very decisive start, and got on with it very, very quickly.
You know what I just said? I said Sam Harrison needs more than a 3-second lead, and it was going at. It is now more than 3 seconds, so traffic wasn't kind to Zach Meakin. That could be the difference between coming back out into the lead of the race, the number 90 car, or number 68 going to the front. 3 seconds longer for 90 in its forthcoming pit stop, and it's up to everybody to pay attention and just get things right. But the pit stops don't have to be hurried, but they just mustn't be shorter than the minimum pit stop time. That is a factor.
O'Brien there coming out of turn 8, using his push to pass there. Very eager to get through Josh Mason, who's just got in the car as well. So this is a fascinating battle to look at. And coming into 11 now, let's see who's going to be ahead. It's still Josh Mason there, but he knows he's got Michael O'Brien behind him, and that's going to keep him on his toes for sure.
Yeah, absolutely will. This is where you really see the caliber of a driver. I mean, Michael O'Brien's had such success, across recent years in McLarens, but he's looking really, really busy, but he's being defended. Josh Mason doing a great job. Keeping him behind him for now. They're waiting for those top 3 runners now, 4 runners to serve. No, top 3. Kevin Rawshite's died in. We're waiting for Sam Harrison, Zach Meakin, and Alejandro Geppert to serve their pit stops. And these ones are chasing to see how close they can get to their tails when all is done. Bit of debris on the start-finish straight, just clipped by the chasing Michael O'Brien yesterday. Just hope when someone really minding their own business, they could be obscured by someone else, and everybody else is coming in the pits with the exception of Alejandro Geppert. I think he went around one more time. Yes, he did. Only one of the SMC Motorsport cars is there.
So yeah, some of that debris on the straight may have been the remains of the Brad Ellis rear scoop. And here's the SMC car coming to a stop.
Yeah, I just need to clarify something I said that was wrong there. Sam Harrison did continue. It was only the number 12 coming in, Alejandro Geppert. And so our race leader, Sam Harrison, still ahead of Zach Meakin, still out on the track. But for Zach Meakin, he's only 2.96 seconds down. He's within the 3 seconds that he's going to gain in the pit stops with Sam Harrison when he hands over the number 90 entry from ALM Motorsport, Leo Caravasili. He has an extra 3 seconds at a standstill. It's moving one way, it's moving another. It's going to be very, very tight when they come in. More to the point, when they go out of the pits, far, far tighter still. So Sam Harrison, can I find another 1/10 of a second here at turn 8? Maybe, maybe not.
Oh, this is great because he's putting the teams again at the forefront of what's going to happen in the pit stop. So ALM Motorsport versus SMC in the pits. Let's see who does a better job to get their car out.
Well, Sam Harrison absolutely pushing for every nanosecond he can gain, and certainly Zach Meakin isn't hanging around behind him. It's teetering around the 3 second mark, and that is the extra time. The 3 seconds are going to be added to the race leader's pit stop by dint of them finishing in 3rd overall yesterday. Success penalty, they call it. Fun, we call it.
But you can see that one, they're both in clean air. Meakin has just a little bit of an edge on Harrison there. It could be a 10, maybe 2 tenths sometimes, or even 3 tenths. It seems to then close that gap again. So good pace there on the SMC car. Let's see what happens during the pit stops and see if they can get ahead.
Yeah, but I tell you what, those final two sectors, it's been a faster in-lap from Sam Harrison than it has from Zach Meakin. He's actually gained about a 1/4 of a second. That could be crucial, because it was teetering either side of the 3 second mark. Of course, it looks so it's down to next to nothing when the front car slows right down. The second one has to do it before the start line. I reckon Zach Meakin's in lap, not the lap, but the bit coming into the pit lane was slightly faster. It's something you don't really concentrate on. You should.
So important, Bruce. Absolutely, very well pointed out there, because the driver's job is not finished until the flag is out, and coming into the pits and out of the pits on a good strong lap is very, very important. Very important. So, but the guy's done a great job, and it's over to you, team, to do your bit in the pits.
Again, look, just a handful of mechanics working on the car. It keeps costs down, keeps things nice and plain as well, because every extra mechanic on a weekend is going to cost you a little bit. Most notably, when you win, you have to give them beer as well. That's a good thing too, isn't it? But right, the car that led the race, Sam Harrison out of the car, Leo Caravasili being strapped in right now, and again, all around the car. Remember, this number 90 will be 3 seconds longer at a standstill than number 68 that's sitting behind it in the top level of the picture. Look at when the lollipop comes up, the lollipop board in front of the 68 car, and that will go up 3 seconds sooner than one of the erstwhile race leader. Also, how good will the pit stop be for Alessandro Geppert's car? He's handed that over now, hasn't he, of course, to teammate Will Aspin, and he's going to be going. Aspin will be flying on this outlap to see maybe luck will fall his way. Right, 68 comes out of the pits, and he is just right in front. The 3 seconds, we wondered if it would just be enough for the number 90, if he could stretch it another few tenths of a second to come out ahead. But I think that was simply down to the better approach to the white line coming into the pits. I reckon half a second was gained, and I think that was just enough. If he hadn't gained that, those cars would have been side by side as they tried to leave the pits. But it's all to do for Leo Caravasili now, because he's clearly behind number 68's teammate, which is Harry Burgoyne. We heard from him down on the grid, the Scottish racer, and the track conditions have stayed exactly how he wanted them. He said, stay as they are now, and they've done just that. There is no drizzle. It's not a bright day. It feels more like middle of autumn than the end of summer, but right now the sun, metaphorically at least, is shining on the number 68 crew from SMC Motorsport.
Yeah, incredibly, the clouds have not dumped any rain on us. It's incredible, really, because here at the Nürburgring you always expect that to play a part, but it's so far it's a dry race.
Now, the championship battle in the Pro-Am class has been fought out really seriously all season between Ryan James and Ollie Webb in the Greystone GT car. That's number 22, and Eric Behrens and his teammate Lucas Sundal. Now it's Eric giving chase in the black car with the Swedish flag on roof and wing end plate. And it's certainly looking as though Ryan James is going to be very, very busy indeed. Bear in mind, in the early oh dear, we've had a little bit of a spin there Is that Muncherath?
Looks like Muncherath's car, yes, yes. He had a little spin again yesterday's race and had a bit of damage due to that. But this time he really a harmless spin there, so he's back on track. But crucially, he's in front of the leaders now.
Well, exactly so, Tommy. I was just about to say what he wants to do is have a few more corners, just get his mojo back, get his equilibrium in, and what he's got is the race-leading battle. I think it was possibly a spin. Well, it's a tricky corner, turn 11, top of the hill. He managed to get it back round and not interrupt anyone behind, which is fortunate. So he could get it going and came down through turn 12, the right-hander that tips you down towards 13, and that was a fairly simple spin, and they both got past him. So first and second, or more to the point, give them their names, Harry Burgoyne and Lucas Caravasili have done that, and they did stay clear of Will Aspin. I wondered if the number 12 SMC Motorsport car would have had a better in and out, but it didn't particularly, and so that still remains in overall third position.
Yes, no, if you notice during the pit stops there, the SMC crew with the tyre gauge bleeding the tyre off, so taking some air out of the tyre, because here at the Nürburgring, with the nature of the corners, you know, one leading on to another, and very long corners as well, so the lingering corner, it creates a lot of loading on these tyres, and that's one very important aspect of the pit crew when they come in the pits, to be able to bleed the tyres down a little bit so that they don't get, you know, overpressure and effectively towards the end of the race.
For sure. Right, the Pro-Am battle is right in front of us, and it's Ryan James, 7th place overall. Quarter of a second, they tell us, clear of Eric Behrens, but Eric's going, oh, I'm looking up the inside. Not sure you're quite close enough to do it, but Ryan James doesn't want to risk any damage, so he's actually being a little bit kind, a little bit gentlemanly, stayed out there. But maybe, you know, sometimes when you're looking in the mirror, it's quite hard to gauge exactly where a rival is. You know, you think it's one thing in your road car, but your view in the back of a racing car is minimal.
That's the thing. I mean, that's a very good point, Bruce, because people watching on TV see the cars, you know, how did they not see him? But no, these guys are sat in a car. The seat comes around your ears, around your peripheral vision. You're strapped in tight with the belts, and your vision isn't that great back. Of course, you got your mirrors, and you can see him. So Eric Behrens quite rightly put his nose in, showed it, you know, on Ryan's mirror, and that kind of was enough to unnerve Ryan and leave the door open there into turn 1. So, but you know, great job there by Ryan James avoiding contact. Clean pass by Eric Behrens, and to be honest, Eric has had a bit more pace than Ryan, generally speaking, this weekend, although Ryan did a fantastic job in race 1 yesterday, keeping up with Eric all the way to the pit stops.
Yeah, no, exactly. Live and learn. But right now, Leo Caravasili using his push to pass, but he's lost a bit of ground. He's 1.7 seconds down. I really fancied him to take it to Harry Burgoyne, but maybe he's just settling in. And certainly the third place car of Will Aspin closed in on that lap. He gained more than a second on Leo Caravasili and close to a second on the race leader, which is his teammate Harry Burgoyne. What's left on the clock? 16 minutes. We started with 50 minutes left on the clock, a 50-minute race, and we'll see how this one unwinds from here. But I'm sensing we could have some place changes, and Leo Caravasili going to have to pick up his pace. He qualified very nicely yesterday, second fastest, so we know he's got form. But it's also just settling into your stint, working out where the tyres are at the moment, what's their performance, how much. Also, it could be the other element we talked about earlier. Has my co-driver not left me any push to pass? We saw there was a little bit there that he'd been left by Sam Harrison, but in the first part of the race, whenever we looked, it was the chasing 68 and 12 from SMC Motorsport who were using theirs more than he was. So I thought, he's put a bit of advantage in the hands of his second driver. Right now, Leo Caravasili has got some. He's using it, but he's got to, because it's 1.7 seconds between first and second. The clock will count down, and it's how he settles down.
And Caravasili, he's got Aspin right on his heels as well, so he can't really hang back and save too much time. In fact, he was actually flashing his headlights there. That wasn't the push-to-pass button. But yes, Bruce, we don't know how much boost these guys have used, how much push to pass. It would be nice if we had a little gauge here in the commentary box, wouldn't it, to understand, you know, what is left, but we don't know.
Yeah, but we want the viewers to see it too. We like a little AI floating bubble above each of the cars.
Yes,
how about that?
Maybe that's something for next year. We'll ask McLaren, see if they can do that for us.
I think it will draw in the crowds. I think it would be a great one. You know, the technology does exist, I'm told, and I have seen versions thereof. Not so much a floating bubble saying push to pass and what's left, but I think the fans will require it. Tommy, go and speak to the crew.
I'll do my best.
Do your best. I know you always do. So Harry Burgoyne leading the way, 1.2 seconds clear of Leo Caravasili. So in fact, the second part of that lap, the British driver with the Greek name, closed in rather nicely. He gained half a second, so I think maybe he was just settling himself down, or did he use a whole bucket load of his push-to-pass power? He certainly was flashing his push-to-pass lights at the moment. You wouldn't want to be doing that when you're going through turn 3. Oh, bit of a mistake there from Will Aspin, a bit deep into turn 3. Maybe his tyres aren't quite where he wants them at the moment.
Yes, that looked a little bit like he wanted just 2 or 3 kilometers per hour, too hot, and the front tyres just didn't want to stay with that extra entry speed there. But yeah, tyre degradation now is going to be playing a big part for these guys. And you've got to say that the car 68 of Mikin and Burgoyne have had a really good setup on this car. They were very fast in qualifying, and no matter who is driving the car is able to, eke away a nice little advantage there. And even though it's not that big at the moment, but they just seem to have a good car underneath them.
Yeah, they were only 5th yesterday, though, so today they're fighting for much bigger points haul. But yeah, no, the body language is definitely there, being caught by Leo Caravacelli. He's gained another 1/10 of a second, a little bit more. Will Aspin, a little bit of a mistake from him, but he's actually looking pretty handy as well. Again, pushing very, very hard indeed. Harry Burgoyne will now be going, right, crew, what have we got left? 13 minutes. Can I stay on in the lead of this race? I think he possibly can, but look, push to pass being pushed even earlier by the chasing Leo Caravacelli. Yeah, we're down to pretty much a second on the nose, the gap between them, and the body language is very, very much that Caravacelli is carrying a bit more speed at the late stage of the race. And this is a look at Will Aspin bouncing over the curbs, super, super slow-mo. And you can see just how dynamic this Arturo racer is, can't you? There, the way he can then pitch it round the other way.
Yeah, these cars they're very fast machines, but they're so intuitive to drive, and this is what some of the M guys are saying. The sort of less experienced drivers, that they actually feel really comfortable driving, even though you're driving a beast, if you will, with 600 horsepower and improved aerodynamics. The Pirelli tires give them a lot of grip as well. So these cars are fast. They're only about, I don't know, 2 to 3 seconds behind GT3 times. These are absolute fast machines, but as you can see, even visually you can tell it's just very well damped, has a very good balance throughout the corners, and it's just a joy to drive.
Look, if these cars had been developed for pro drivers to race, they would be very different beasts to what they are. The real aim is these to be cars that AM drivers can learn their craft in, become confident in. As soon as the confidence isn't an issue for them, they'll go, it becomes an issue for them, then it's a disaster. Come what may, you'll be fighting, you'll have this fear. But if the car is kind, then you can really start to make moves. And the driver is definitely making moves. Look, half a second gain on lap 17 by Leo Caravacelli, and then a 1/4 of a second. He's getting into that sort of dirty air behind. He's close enough, but what he needs is someone up in front. And what have they got? A car just up ahead of them on the circuit. And that's going to make it very interesting indeed. It's Danny Henry who's just up in front of them, the DTO Motorsport driver, drives these races solo, absolutely loves his racing. He'll hopefully have mirrors that will indicate, I thought he was going to stay out of the way. He's got to look for a moment out of turn 12 down to 13. He's got to go to one side of the track and stay there. Surely he would have seen the race leader coming through. Yes, he has. Has he seen the driver in second place? Sometimes it's quite hard if they're running close together to see the driver who's second in the line. You might think there's one car coming, but Danny Henry did a good job there. Sometimes it's a difficult point on the circuit to move out of the way immediately, and he sort of waited for a corner to do it at the right point. But right now the gap is, well, it was down at the start of the lap to 0.9 of a second. Halfway around the lap it became 0.6, and it looks so it's not even that anymore as Caravacelli gets closer and closer.
This is anybody's race at this stage, really. We only have 10 minutes left, and these two are very equal in pace. Certainly on the bits that we've seen, Caravacelli is using more boost than Burgoyne. Is it because Mikin used too much in the beginning, or is Burgoyne saving a little bit towards the end? Well, we don't know, but it's a very, very equal race between those two at the moment.
It really is. I mean, if Burgoyne is happy enough, confident enough to stay sitting at the front, saving a little bit, that's something in mind. But as soon as another 1/10 of a second is gained, it's suddenly a very different game. More push to pass. Or was that a headlight flash?
Yeah, I didn't see that one, but just looking at the times of the last time, actually Caravacelli gained a good 3/10 on Burgoyne, so he's definitely pushing very, very hard.
Over the curbing, turn 6. neat and tidy. We can still see the hills and the woods in the background, Tommy, so I think we're set dry to the end of the race at least, and certainly sometimes it's really quite exciting, isn't it, when a little shower of rain comes in, not over the entirety of the lap, just with a few closing laps. But right now, the person praying, well, actually just praying for the checkered flag is this driver, the Scot, Harry Burgoyne, sharing with Zach Meakin. But Leo Caravasili, who's sharing with Sam Harrison, is chasing at a bit of... I think that was debris that was sitting in the track. There wasn't contact between the two cars, so it looked like a wheel arch lining or something. And the first car to hit it was our race leader. And then that's a real surprise to the driver who's tucked in behind. You suddenly have some debris that look like a little bit of carbon fibre flashed up in the air. But nobody likes to see carbon fibre loose on a track because it has sharp edges. Don't know if it was carbon fibre, but anyhow, it seems to be kicked out of the way.
I think that was Brad Ellis playing Mario Kart there, dropping his bombs and things around it with the S-Coupe coming off.
Yeah, well, maybe they. Well, I thought we might finally see it, but that's been there for so long. If it's lying on the track, you'd have thought it'd been knocked out of the way before. Now, this is like a better exit to the final corner from our race leader, but he's coming across Ryan James there, I think it is. Come on, let's have a look when they get down to the first corner. Not Ryan James, is it?
No, that's Ron Trenker.
Okay, Ron's
yes.
running in 11th place overall. They just put a lap on him, but he slightly compromised Leo Caravasili. There was nowhere that Ron could go. He had to take the corner. But now they'll be looking up the road to see who is next up the line ahead of Ron Trenker. Well, I tell you what, it'll be Fiona Jays, but she's about 15 seconds further ahead. They should catch her before the end of the race, but it's where they catch her. Who's got the boost left? Who's going to be able to maybe use that extra bit of push-to-pass boost to make sure they can make a tidy move on Fiona to get through? Will it be the driver in the lead of the race? Will it be Harry Burgoyne, or will it be Leo Caravasili, who's chasing, but actually his pace seems to have abated a little bit. Maybe he simply had been using that push to pass to get in close. But remember, he was down to 5/10 of a second down off the leader. He's now a second back. He did lose a bit of time, though, at the start of the lap going past Ron Trenker. So maybe the pace isn't dropping away, but he's not sort of slamming the curbs as much as before. But actually, as I say that, looking quite tidy on the exit of turn up the hill. They come to the Schumacher S. This is where you can grab a little bit of curb. Try not to grab the gravel just beyond the curve, because that makes it very difficult for everyone.
Be interesting to see now when they come out of 13 whether they will go just this right-hander just in front of them. Will they use the push to pass? Do they have any left? Let's see who is flashing, who is not. There we go. So Burgoyne still have some of it there. Caravasili not on this lap anyway, but still some 6.5 minutes left.
Yeah, now, does that mean Caravasili has used all of his, or he's just thinking, I'm only going to use it when I'm close enough to make a difference, so maybe get a pass on you being the race leader, Harry Burgoyne?
Hard to say, Bruce, but Burgoyne certainly seems to have plenty left. In fact, there is Caravasili. That was the lights flashing there, you know, the headlights.
Can you see, if you're in a chasing car, if the car ahead is using it, or do the lights only flash on the front of the car?
No, I believe you cannot see at the back. No, there is nothing flashing at the back. So
what if you pay extra? So the clock is counting down. We started with 50 minutes of running, and now we have just 6 minutes remaining. The gap between first and second, 1.1 seconds. Harry Burgoyne, car number 68, SMC Motorsport, hanging on. Leo Caravasili chasing very hard for ALM Motorsport. That's car number 90. And in time, they've gradually been dropping Will Aspin, who looked as though he might catch them at one point, the number 12 SMC Motorsport entry, but that was only for a lap or so. And since then, the lead duo have just been easing their way clear. Leader in the Pro-Am class is still Eric Berhams. He's ahead of Ryan James by 8 seconds now, so surely that is a victory almost in the bag. And leading the AM class is Andreas Grading. He and his teammate Kevin Rorschach are just having a really good point in their season now. Looks though victory may be going their way.
It's a good point you made there about the whether the car behind can see or not the lights flashing, because that would bring the team into equation again, wouldn't it? Would it not? Because if that's the case, as a team, I would want to be in the pit wall, radioing the guy behind to say he's used push to pass on this lap. So he's aware when he's using. But the thing is, again, they don't know the quota. You know what's left in the tank on each other's cars.
No, because I mean the amount of time you press it. Can you tell from the outside if it was pressed for 1 second or 1.5 seconds? You absolutely cannot. So ifs and buts and maybes, but. What we can tell you is Leo Caravasili appears to be closing in little by little. He's 9/10 of a second down now. How does he ride the curbs out of turn 16? So well. Neat and tidy from Harry Burgoyne, though, and that has been a hallmark of his race, I must say, so far. But 4 minutes 20 seconds to go. Bit of push to pass being used to try and close the gap, but Caravasili, what he gained, he lost immediately. 2 tenths he gained, 2 tenths he lost. He starts this lap 1.1 seconds in the rear. Here comes Will Aspin in 3rd place.
Yes, Will Aspin there at one point was maybe in contention, but clearly has dropped back too much now to fight for the top 2 positions there. But let's see what's, they've got about 2 laps left in this race. Who has more boost than the other? That's the question.
Absolutely, that's the question. So out of turn 4 they go down as the track starts to fall away. Turn 5, slightly downhill right-hander. Turn 6, most definitely a downhill left-hander. Then there's a downhill kink to the left at 7, the lowest point of the circuit. Turn 8, the hairpin where they turn around and then start climbing up. That was the view down through turn 6. This is the approach. Race leader Harry Burgoyne into turn 8. It's a very broad hairpin, a wide hairpin. The track slightly cups the cars and then they come up the slope, but they've got a couple of cars ahead of him. This could be key.
Absolutely, Bruce. This could be crucial to the result of the race. Burgoyne needs to get cleanly through that one. Is that Fiona James there? Car 49.
Car 49
That's
keeping out of the way, but I think there may be a little bit of an advantage possibly to Leo Caravasili if he can be bold. He has been bold. Fiona James did a fantastic job of keeping out of the way. And I tell you what, it was 1.1 seconds between 1st and 2nd at the start of the lap. It isn't that now. It's about 0.5 of a second, I would think. They're getting up towards the chicane. 1 car ahead of them, but is he going to be still ahead of them or in front of them even when they get up to the chicane? Yes, it is. It goes through.
That was
keeps out of their way.
That was a crucial pass by Caravasilis there on Fiona at the right time.
Yeah, and Andreas Greiding kept out of the way very nicely indeed. His car is leading in the AM class. Didn't interrupt either of them over the start-finish line. 0.6 of a second, but actually a really tidy exit from turn 17. No doubt using a bit of the go juice, a bit of the push to pass. Harry Burgoyne, he hasn't got much time left in this race. He has this lap and the next one, or are they going to declare this the last lap? No, I think they've started it and there is one more to come. Is that a help or a hindrance to Harry Burgoyne or to the chasing Leo Caravasili?
And crucially for Will Aspin, he has a black and white warning on track limits. So that's probably why he dropped his pace a little bit there, because he wants to try and stay in 3rd place and not get a penalty over that.
Yeah, it'd be really pointless. He's not in a position to challenge the top 2. Points for 3rd place, very useful in the championship battle. Best to put them in the pot, not to waste them to try and save a 1/10 of a second. But our 1st and 2nd, well, it's super, super tight. 2/3 of a second. That's the rear view over the curbing at turn 6, down the slope towards the hairpin with Caravasili in number 90, just not close enough to make a move, but he is on good enough form to try and close a bit. But again, I think Harry Burgoyne has been super, super neat and tidy. He's not offering much in a moment where he gets the car sideways, just even a tiny amount to give hope to Caravasili. But Caravasili is doing what he, all he can do to upset him, get right on his tail, needs to get a tiny, tiny bit closer. At the moment, Burgoyne has sort of taken all the pressure, sucked it up, and just seems to look as though his lead is impenetrable. But is it? Now, what have they got up ahead of them? Actually, for them, from the point of view of the chasing Leo Caravasili, it's a disaster. There is nobody immediately ahead of them. In fact, the next car is just going into the final corner now, and they're only getting to turn 13. So as we approach the final lap of the race, it's basically up to these 2 to see who's going to come out ahead. Harry Burgoyne will be gutted if he doesn't get through to take the checkered flag. He's resisted a lot of pressure. It's ebbed and it's flowed, but again, super, super smooth, and that's the way to be. But who has got the push to pass left for this final lap? We're going on to it now. 20 seconds remain. Next time around, the checkered flag will greet them. And it's interesting, push to pass is being used by a race leader, not the chaser. That tells me Caravasili has finished all of his push to pass. He's going to have to rely on some form of genius or an incredibly bold maneuver. Super close, not into turn 1, not close enough surely to go up the inside in turn 2. Has a little look. Okay, your options now starting to diminish. Is it going to be at turn 3? No, you've been covered off on the approach to that by Harry Burgoyne. Well, what's next? Turn 4, really tight corner. Can you get up the inside or can you go around the outside? No, he can't. Burgoyne has put the car in the perfect position, but how close would you like them to be? Tommy, this is fab.
What a fantastic way to finish race 2 here at the Nürburgring. Look at these 2 on the last lap, and Caravasili has some boost potentially, but he's flashing his headlights. The question is now, out of 13, who has any boost left? They're coming towards 8, so they're not quite there yet. But and there we go, Bourgogne still has a little bit left, but they really, I would be saving some for out of 13, because that's the long stretch before you break for the chicane, which is really the last opportunity to make a move.
Well, I think we'll find out. Oh, running wide out of turn 8. That was sort of desperation to try and carry as much speed out of the exit of the corner. Leo Caravasili now right on the tail of the race leader. Harry Burgoyne doing his absolute best, clouts the curve, but lands and actually gains a little bit of an advantage out of the Schumacher S. Right, turn 11, always a tricky corner. The left-hander at the crest of the rise. Then you've got 12, and then you're plunging down. Right, which lights are flashing? Here we go. Who's got the boost left? We think it might be Caravasili. No, a little bit of boost from Harry Burgoyne, and just sheer bravado out of the corner from Caravasili, but it's got to be at the chicane or nowhere. He's not close enough to do it.
He's out, Bruce. He has nothing left, Caravasili. But under braking, he's very, very strong, but I'm afraid that's a little too late there, unless he makes a last-minute lunge. He's trying his best, but yeah, good effort there, Caravasili and Burgoyne. Great driving by these two guys, and SMC come crossing the flag, the winners. Well deserved.
Well, it was, but a really, really good battle. And SMC Motorsport, the second car, comes home in third place. That's Will Aspin. In the background, you can see the driver who's about to win the AM class, which will be Andreas Greiling, with the blue flash up his car. He flashes his lights, looking to see who's going to be fourth. It is going to be Michael O'Brien, some distance behind. He's about another 8 seconds back. And in the Pro-Am class, it's going to be 88, and it's going to be Eric Behrens building on the workers, Lucas Sundahl. They had to proceed up the order to get there, but they have taken that class very nicely indeed. Good weekend for the Swedish team, that's for sure.
Great effort there by the Alfa car, and of course they came second to Ryan James and Ollie Webb from Greystone GT yesterday, but today they reversed the positions, and what a great fight in the Pro-Am class as well.
Yeah, and one thing we have to mention is that eventually Tom Holland came home in 6th place, and that was a car that pulled off the circuit with Martin Plowman, boss of Paddock Motorsport, got going again and just picked his way bit by bit, the pair of them up the order. But that was a fantastic battle to the end, and Harry Burgoyne just holding on from Leo Caravasili by dint, really, of having just a little bit of push to pass left for that final lap, and it was all the difference in the end. Leo Caravasili gave him, you know, absolutely everything in his attempt to make sure that he passed him. He didn't manage it, but they will have both learnt an awful lot from that battle, that's for sure. And it's all about education, and here we have, still coming to the flag, Eric Behrens hasn't completed his race. Most of the others around him have, but he was just ahead of the race-winning car when it got the checkered flag. So he comes through to take victory in the Pro-Am class.
Yeah, great composure there by Burgoyne in car 68 under immense pressure from Caravasili, and what a great result for the number 68 car there. Zach Meekin, first of all, in pole position with a great time. Good first stint there, great first stint, and yeah, excellent result for the SMC car, well deserved.
Yeah, well, that was most enjoyable. A very quick flag off into the paddock, because we've still got the main race of the meeting here, the GT World Challenge Endurance Round, 3 hours of racing at the Nürburgring. But for the McLaren Trophy Europe, that was a fine race meeting. 2 meetings, 2 races in the meeting, and 2 different winners. Today it was Zach Meekin who started, and Harry Burgoyne who finished the job off. Half a second was the gap at the end over the chasing, racing Leo Caravasili, who shared with Sam Harrison and SMC Motorsport. 3rd place for them, as well as the race win. Will Aspin bringing it home. Alejandro Geppert starting off. Great recovery drive from Jaden Kelly, Michael O'Brien. 4th place for them. Winning in the Pro-Am class, 7th overall, Eric Behrens, just ahead of class rivals. In fact, eventually by a good margin, over a quarter of a minute. Ahead of Ryan James and Ollie Webb. Winning in the AM class, 9th overall, Andreas Grayling and Kevin Rawshite. So there we are. That will be the Scottish Saltire, the flag across the back of Harry Burgoyne's helmet there. Indicates precisely who he is. Thumbs up from him to those around. Thumbs up to Leo Caravasili. They enjoyed that battle. It's good to see that level of gentlemanly behaviour. But earpiece is out, and Pirelli winner's cap coming up for SMC Motorsport, and we're going to go down to hear from our race winner.
Oh, Harry, you did it. There you are. You can add Nürburgring 2025 win to your CV.
Yeah, I mean, really delighted I won that. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. both you and Zach drove very well. That was just a very good, neat drive. Was it as easy as it looked?
No, it wasn't as easy as it looked, but once we got in front with some clean air, it was not too bad. Just managed to keep myself settled down and just keep chipping away, and then on the last lap had to defend, but managed to hold it off in the end, so I came out with a win.
That pushed past. Nicely done, Harry. Well done.
Yeah, so quite understated. That was a really good defensive drive at the end, but it also, you know, he kept it clean. He didn't seem to be phased by being under attack. A lot of drivers, you can see them starting to look, but he just took the line he needed to take. And you've got to find something different if you're going to beat me.
Absolutely, and you could tell by the body language of the car that Harry was really in control all the time under a lot of pressure.
Well, let's go down to another class winner.
Well, the boys were not going to make that easy for you, Ollie and James, were they?
Yeah, it was not so easy day. Why we have 2 penalties from last year in the starting grid, but he was so the car was so nice and so good, competitive, and we are so strong and fast. So on the end was easier like the thing before. It's a nice day today.
Good. Well done. Congratulations.
So that was Andreas Greiling, who took victory in the AM class with Kevin Rawscheit there. And there is their car looking magnificent as it worked its way around to take victory in the AM class. Beautiful slow-mo, just showing the dynamics of the car, cornering beautifully there, kicking a little bit of tyre debris out of the way as it goes, but importantly at the Schumacher S, that's turn 9 and 10. Look at that, neat, precise, and not kicking up the gravel. I thank you very much for that indeed, because it's no driver's friend. And let's go down to our Pro-Am winning combination, car number 88, Eric Behrens and Lucas Sundal.
A big smile, Eric, but you look rather worn out. How was it for you?
Yeah, but hot, but nice and fast.
Yeah, good. Nice to see you back on the podium again. Talk us through Nürburgring from your perspective today.
Today, totally great fun. It's a little bit slippery, but we're used to winter. It's starting to snow in Sweden now, so no, it was a great run. P1 in both quali, but Ollie and James were really good yesterday, and today really hard. I mean, Webb started crazy good, and my stint was, yeah, it was the Viking.
Good. Job done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, you can tell how hard people have been working when they're puffing and panting a little bit afterwards, but it'd be a shame if it was otherwise. So for Alfa, you know, a really good weekend for them. But, you know, when you take a class win, it's one thing, but when you had to fight for it, that makes it all the more special. And I think you can sense the satisfaction.
These guys have been incredible competitors, and ever since Lucas Sundal joined that car with Eric Behrens, we've seen some just consistent high-end performances, so great stuff.
Well, let's take a look back to the start of the race, and it was neat and tidy at the front of the grid, but the change of the order happened immediately. Sam Harrison getting ahead of Zach Meekin to put his white number 90 car into the lead, but he's going to be fighting. That car would fight with the 2 SMC Motorsport cars, the ones in the blue and orange livery, all race long. Martin Plowman made a really powerful start in number 9, but his race was to come to a bit of a hiccup when he pulled off just a little bit further around the lap. It was push and it was shove, and nice and neat though from everybody involved. They're doing what they needed to do, but Sam Harrison coming under a degree of pressure from Zach Meekin. There is Martin Plowman pulling off. The car would get going again, but it cost them an awful lot of time. Then we got to the round of the pit stops, and the ProAm cars came in first, but their order was rotated because success time penalty meant extra time at a standstill for Ollie Webb's car as he handed over to his teammate Ryan James. And so they had to work hard to try and redress that balance, but the front-running cars stayed out as long as they possibly could. This was the battle towards the end of the race. This was the penultimate corner on the final lap, and Harry Burgoyne hung on to win for SMC Motorsport by just a fraction of a second from the chasing Leo Caravasili. They'll have enjoyed that. Obviously, Caravasili would have enjoyed it more if he'd got to the front, but a good, clean race. So Nürburgring for 2025 for McLaren Trophy Europe has come to a conclusion, just a podium ceremony to follow. They wondered if rain would come through and entertain, but it didn't. It stayed away. But a lot of track time, a lot of experience, and some really good racing for the crews involved. And I'm sure when people look at that, they'll go, now I understand about the push-to-pass button and many other factors beside. But it is all about great racing and good experience too, and gaining experience. That's the whole point.
100%, Bruce. Fantastic racing for both yesterday's race and today. Obviously, finishing literally on the last lap. We didn't know who was going to win the race. The car 68 of Meekin and Burgoyne have looked very good throughout the weekend. And you can see at the end there, Caravasili threw everything at it. And you can see him coming wide in the last corner there. I don't think he had tyres left the way that the number 68 car had. So I think a big shout out as well to SMC Motorsport. They've found a very good setup in their car, looked after their tyres. And of course, both drivers did exceedingly well.
Look, as a racing driver, you don't want to finish with any life left in the tyres, do you? None of your push to pass should be kept for the end of the, after the end of the race. But they got the job done, and some really entertaining driver. So that's it for 2025 for McLaren Trophy Europe's visit to the Nürburgring. It was entertaining, and we were treated to a battle royal. Look forward to the next race, and it's goodbye from me, Bruce Jones, and from Tommy Erdos.